Okay, right there we have Miss Beverly McDonald. We're in a meeting today, CPM training, and we're glad you're here being part of it too. There's John Ansardi, he's from Pensacola. There's Twyla. Twyla, raise your hand. Twyla Crawford, Terry Werzick, raise your hand. Ann Basher. All right, Miss Carrie Baker. There you go. Miriam Gephardt, raise your hand. And Rachel Staub. There we go. All right, there's Miss Brandy Edenfield and Ann Kling. Especially these CPMs that are watching this right now. Ann Kling, is you hear from her often, and she sends prayers to you. And then here on the camera, got to go up. Well, that was shaky. There is Ken Wheeler. He's the admin, and then as Brandy is my personal assistant. So kind of give you some faces here, and we're getting ready, and we're going to start a 4-panel question and answer period. Ken, Brandy, Ann, and I hopefully will answer questions that you may have as a CPM or that the team may have that they'll ask at the end. Might be yours. If not, you're welcome to send in your questions and we'll try to get to it soon. So, okay. 2017 release form. I've sent this out to the office email, and Beverly and I asked you to remove every one that's on that computer. So before you download this one on there, so we'll just have the right one. Because I added in the back, it says I am a minor under 19 in the name. Parent signature below confirms parent consents to minor child's appointment with CPM. So that has been added to the back.
That's specifically for anybody, or just for?
If it's a one-time issue related, you're fine. You can usually just deal with that, even though you can get them to go ahead and fill it out. But if they are going to go through the process with us, this has to be on file in our office to cover us. So if you're not turning these in, and if there is a legal issue comes up, these need to be on file in our office, a copy of it. You don't have to keep a copy for you. You can make a note on your notes that you turned in a copy, or you can make you a copy. Either way, but we have that in our files.
What if you're teaching a class with a group?
Well, that's not the same as when they come in for counseling. So they know they're in the middle of a Bible study, healing journey, so you're fine.
Okay.
Let me make sure I'm clear. If they're coming in for a one-time issue-related situation, do we still want this on file?
No, if you're having one time, it's like having a time of prayer with someone. Just like being at the altar, you know. But if they're coming in that we're going to get a lot of information, disclosure information, they need to know the principles of our ministry, how we work.
Do you charge them for that one time though?
You certainly can. Talking about charging, we're going to get into that.
But
So I'll take a bite, but
if it's a minor though, we still have to have the parental signature, even if it's a one-time thing, don't we?
right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of, and it's okay if you just have everybody do it every time.
Okay.
Then they know what we offer. You know, it's fine. Or you can call that little prayer visit. But it's okay if you have everyone sign this. Then they know what you do offer, so if in the future they're interested.
So if somebody comes in for just a one-time issue, you have the option of handing them this and asking them
To bring it back.
Exactly.
That's a good idea.
Or if this is just one time, I'm not coming back, and they do later, then you can email.
Because here it says, for complete counseling ministry benefit and continued appointments, we require your participation, understanding of the process, and so then it goes on to continue.
I like to do it anyway because it has their
You can do it anyway.
phone
That's what I
numbers on
mean.
it, and
Yeah.
you don't do, if it's a one-time thing and you don't do the intake form.
Yeah,
At least you've got.
That's
a way to
true.
follow that.
Where was that you just read that? Is that on the front or that?
and that's on the front, the second square.
Okay.
So, yeah, like Beverly said, that she likes to do it anyway, because then that gives her the name, address, email, everything that she needs about them is on there. So you can do that. Even if they do one time and they don't check up all these because they're just coming for one time, then you can use that as your information sheet. And then if they come in going, I do need, okay, well, you didn't, can you read and initial these or something like that, ever how you want to do it? Yeah, just figure it out. You're the counselor, or you're the certified prayer minister trained in a counseling model to use to help clients in their healing process. So, it's your office. You know, we're renting space. You have a space, it's your office. So what's happening in your office and how you handle that. Being under the umbrella covering of Christians United Ministries, we have to have a copy if you see them as a counselor-client relationship. We need to have that. Even if you're in Minnesota, Louisiana, those watching my video, wherever you are, those are supposed to be sent to our office if you're seeing clients. We have to have that in our office, whether you scan it, mail it, or send it snail mail. We need to have that. That protects you and us. So, all right.
They need a copy of it. They should keep a copy.
When it has on here that you're letting them, I have a copy of this agreement for my records. And if you've emailed it to them, you can make a note email to clients so they have that record in their emails if it's email. If not, then you give them one and let them sign. So just. All right. All right, we're going to answer some questions, and we do want to talk more about fees, and so we want to get down on what that looks like too. So the first question on this form, and if you have other questions, write them down, and at the end I'll say any other questions, and we'll do that. But what action should you take when a client is habitually late or often cancels at the last minute? Who wants to answer that? Up here on this little panel.
Well, I'll start with that because I actually had a client for 6 months that was habitually late, even on the last appointment we had. And I realized that was a life pattern for her, and started trying to do some life coaching along the line. And this is still, I know her now, and she is still habitually late wherever she goes, and recognizes it now, though. Recognizes it and wants to work on it, so that's a good thing. But the way I dealt with it was to say, this is your appointment time, and I have this many minutes to see you because I have another person coming in right after I see you. And so if you are 15 minutes late, then that takes 15 minutes of our time, and I'm here. So it is up to you if you want to sacrifice that 15 minutes of time with Mary Jane, which obviously didn't bother her because she was habitually late. And so I just had to let her decide if she was going to use all of her hour that I set aside for her or not. And I couldn't stress over it. So I'm not going to add something now.
I believe it is a point that they probably need counseling. I mean, on that point, seriously, I'm saying that it's funny, but I mean, people that are habitually late, there's an issue. They're either inconsiderate, they're just not serious, maybe they go on because, in my case, their wife pretty much threatened to walk out if they don't. Maybe they're not really invested. And that'll show up in a lot of ways other than just being late. Just because somebody's late doesn't mean that at all. But a lot of times it's a indicator. Some people are just not disciplined. And they're just late. I don't care, they'll be late for their own funeral. And you're not going to cancel that away. If it is a paying client situation, just explain, hey, the last 10 minutes you drove up here just cost you $15. And I mean, you don't use that terminology or maybe quite that delivery, but convey that hey, you bought the hour. Whatever you want to do. If you want to stop at Starbucks and pay $15 for a cup of coffee and another 15 because you're late, that's up to you. But it is a life coaching, maybe is a better answer than counseling. And there is I believe there's a correlation on a lot of occasions between if it's a client that you're discounting or not charging, and we'll talk more about that. A lot of times if they don't have any skin in the game, they don't have any skin in the game. But again, as y'all all know, some people are just late.
One of the things that has happened, Brandy, is that your young up there?
Yes.
She went to you? She's got it. All right, I didn't know if you needed to catch her. She was looking for you. Okay. One of the things that can happen sometimes is that when somebody's late, like I owe them an hour. No, you don't. And you cannot develop that. You have to, well, I don't have anybody coming after, so I'll give them extra time. No, you're not teaching them anything by giving them the time that they missed. You're teaching them that it's okay to be late because I'm going to get what I wanted anyway. So, as hard as it can be sometimes, they're 15 minutes late, they're coming at 11:15, and they're supposed to be in there at 11, and their time ends at 12, whether you have another client or not. Their time ends actually in 50 minutes is what our agreement says, because it takes that closing out time when you quit the session in 50 minutes, is that then you need to end it. Giving them the extra time is teaching them a bad habit. So you have to make yourself like this time ends. The other thing that happens when we go over and we give client extra every time, then they're going to assume they always get this extra time, and then you've got another client out there waiting for you possibly, and then you're 30 minutes into their time, so now you've got to give them extra time because it's your fault that you went 30 minutes into theirs, so then you've got to give them the extra time, then all day long you're 30 minutes behind. And that's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you. And it's a hard lesson to learn, and I know that because I've done it wrong a lot. When I first started doing this, a lot, because I felt like, oh, I got to stick with a client. We're in a really tender place. I can't stop now. And you're right on some of those things, but that's why you start reeling in ahead of time. It's why you won't, like if I was dealing with John and like Ann had brought up about asking about the ex forgiveness and stuff. Well, if I had 10 minutes left in the session, that question could have done one of two things. It could have brought in a painful place that I needed to deal with before I could let him leave painfully, or it could have gone into a long conversation. It was like, ugh, I hate to stop you, buddy, but you just ran out of time. So I got to decide, okay, there's 10 minutes left, but I'd rather stop with 10 minutes left and finish out just praying over their life, taking up that time by praying, by encouraging or something like that, then open the door for something that may pull us into, you know what I'm saying? So you just kind of start looking about 15 minutes before your session is supposed to end, look for a closing place that leaves the client in a good place. So it's okay to stop early.
I would use this as an example too, because when I'm at the point where I will start seeing folks here, I'm going to get off of work at my real job at 4 o'clock, and I'm going to drive to Foley.
Right.
30 minutes. And I'm not going to stop, pass go, collect $200. I'm going to leave work, and I'm going to have a freshman and a snack in my car, and I'm going to drive to Foley, and I'm going to get here probably just before 5 o'clock. I'm probably going to set my appointment, for example, about 5:15, 5:30 at the latest. And so when that person's late, I have no problem cutting it off, because I'm going to leave here at some point to even drive back to Foley, and
That's right.
you know, my wife's at home.
Yeah.
And I've told folks this too before, just as a lay counselor. I was like, you know, I don't want to waste your time,
Yeah.
and I don't want you to waste my time. My
Right.
wife would love for me to be at home right
Right.
now. So,
And if you establish that up front with your client when they first come in, say, let's talk about time frame here. I don't, you know, just so you'll know this is how I work. And we're going to end at, and you know, and if you're late, that's your choice, but unless you, like you initial that you understand, unless you let me know 24 hours in advance or there's an emergency situation, then you still have a fee will be charged. So, okay. Any good? Any comments?
I think more the issue that I've recently dealt with is not so much the
the client being late is I have a client that she does really well for a few weeks and then she cancels for 2 or 3 weeks in a row. And she actually is in an appointment profession. And so her time, if you don't come to your appointment with her, so when we went over this, I said, this is not something that I'm hard line on unless I have to be. And so when she signed off on it, I've let her know, and I have charged her for being late. And her last 2 appointments, actually her last 3, one was something medical, but the last 2, I always confirm my appointments the day before.
Yeah.
This past week, I had 2 other people wanting to come in on Monday. So if I can do all Monday, then we have more PA time on Wednesday. I was trying not to put anybody on Wednesday, so I texted her and said, I need to confirm for tomorrow. I know you've had a lot going on, but I have some other people interested in come. No, I want to do it. She canceled at the last minute, and I texted her, and she said, I know I owe you, when I come in next week, I'll pay you for the last 2 weeks. And I said, I need to go ahead and do your credit card today. I said, because I didn't take 2 other, and she wasn't upset with me because I established it up front. Now, can I do that with every other person? I don't know, but with her, I even said to Jan, because Jan knows her, I said, I just flat told her, and she said, hey, run it for this much for each one on top of my regular fee. She said, because I know it's a pain to, not whatever. And I honestly, I was glad that she received it well this time, but I thought this is kind of habitual with her, and she does her work when she's here, and when she comes, she's all in, and she'll come consistently. And then, but I just thought, I have got to show her that my time is as valuable as hers. If I canceled an appointment with her, she would charge me for it. And so I actually didn't have any guilt, did I?
No,
on Monday, because I was like,
Yeah. And you're an
I didn't
example.
ask,
Just
yeah.
remember, you're an example to teach them the right way to do things. Even if they're walking and wounding that's making them do things the way they shouldn't, your example will help them learn and change as well. They have to invest in their time, and you're investing in it. You have trained for it. You have studied for it. You've gone through your own one-on-one for it. You have, just like a doctor puts in his time to charge his fee. He's not going to tell you, I just rarely, So you remember that.
I think in coaching through this time too, especially if they're coming and they're engaging for those 3 weeks and they're seeing things happen, that to help them to point out to them when they start missing right after that there's a big vulnerability factor in this, and that there's a battle for that time. And that if anything can come up to get in your way, to stop you from being consistent. Because when you're having breakthrough, of course, we have the enemy that doesn't want us to get breakthrough.
That's right.
And even subconsciously within ourselves, if it's hitting something painful, we'll start making excuses and reversing. So even in coaching through that, I would think it would be the perfect opportunity to say, do you realize that you have 3 awesome weeks and you're participating and you're having breakthrough, but then suddenly at the end of that, you start having the shift where and I've just noticed it, have you noticed the pattern? What do you think about that? And making them aware that it is a time to fight for, even from the inception and the beginning of it, saying you will have to fight for this time. Because everything will try to come up and make you think this is less important than something else in your life. When it's the most important time that you will commit in your life. So be faithful to that time. We're not here for us, we're here for you.
Right. That's good. That's good. Are you comfortable with the intake form and procedure? Did you learn something this morning with seeing how we did that with John? I mean, some of you have seen it, but how you can walk through it. But did you see I don't even know where I started doing the 20-minute intake. It wasn't taught anywhere that I know of that I've been, so I'm not sure where that came from, but it came from somewhere. And I thought this is a great idea, because in that maybe half-hour time, anytime. Did you get a big picture of John's life? But if I'd started off, all right, let's start with your dad. Now tell me about him. Now age 0 to 10, what all happened? Now what at 10 and what age were you when you left home? All right, how about after them? Starting in the details, how far could we have really gotten that we would have seen this, the adopted brother situation, the mother situation. And so that's why I like this, what I call the one-word intake. That's why I like that, get the bullet points of things to go back to,
Yeah.
is because it gave you a big picture of John's life and saw maybe how we would want to start working, what it may look like, our time frame together, and how so many things relate to each other. So I like it. If you don't like it, you can do it the way you want to, but this is the way that I prefer you do this, is do your one-word intake and then go back and work through details of each section.
I'd like to say that I've seen this exercise done before, but today, by stopping and doing the teaching bullet points that you did through there, I think all of us should understand how to use this valuable tool better maybe than we did before. I picked up a lot of points today from your teaching, so that was most excellent. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Lord.
I will say, I do use that intake form. However, I learned a valuable lesson today in going through this, because I get hung up on, okay, we've come to this thing here, now the intake form stops, and I start dealing with whatever that issue is. So I've never completely finished the intake form. So this has been very good.
But the reason we stop because even if they don't react in pain, we assume they should have by that answer. So let's stop here and let's deal with this. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, so instead of, you need to see a reaction that you know that pain just shot up from there. And we can't go further. Not like, oh, I bet that really was bad for your life. Let's talk about that. No. Again, that's what helps you keep going, is how you go into it and what are you filtering through yourself. Those are good margin places for ourselves. If we see in ourselves, that reminded me of when my dad did that to me too. Oh, let me make a note. HS, Dad. Holy Spirit, what stirred up about Dad when I was talking to that client today. So you do your own self-inventory, make your side note for yourself to deal with later too when that happens. So our first few sessions with when they are going through the journey with a client is relational. So that place that many times we say don't let them talk, reel them in, stop them, after we get past this. We're building a relationship. So your first couple of visits with somebody is going to be a lot of talking, and many times that talking also helps stir in them as well as release from them the pain of what's going on in life. They get to tell somebody what they've been holding inside, and they get to get it out. So just look at that sometimes a relational place. If it becomes just a long dialogue place, if you revisit a lot, we'll talk about that in a minute too, that's different. But you've got to build a relationship. They've got to trust you. And they've got to trust that what they say to you won't make you go, you did that, really? That doesn't bring judgment, or they won't have fear or whatever that looks like.
So as I see it, as I see it, or I surmise it, we can potentially, this form could potentially use in a few ways. Maybe one, just to put it in that, is to go through it and just gather, kind of like you did with me today, gather some pictures, to get kind of a big picture, making your notes and your margin or whatever on an extra sheet of paper so that you can go back and really start to deal with the specific areas. Or you may get to a certain place and you may really identify, based upon the response that you're seeing when you're looking at reading the person's body language and everything, and you may identify, that's a real area of pain. You might just have to put the brakes on right there and deal with that, which might take up the rest of your time.
Absolutely.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, it might very well be that you get to go through this and gather, significant amounts of information throughout the course of an hour or whatnot.
Right.
Is that correct?
That is correct. And if you get stopped somewhere, then the next visit, first you're gonna talk to them about the visit before, how they did with that, did anything come up since you left here? And then, are we okay to go ahead and continue your intake today? And then you start where you left off and you continue again
Yeah,
until you finish it. If you finish it, like we did. The next visit, I'm gonna come back and say, hey, since the last time we got together, anything come to mind? Or I wanna go ahead and get some details in your intake today, but is there anything that you need to discuss beforehand that, you know, and you make sure there's not an issue that's weighing on their heart, like I don't wanna talk about 0 to 10 years, I gotta tell you what happened yesterday. You know, so you find out where they are in that. But then, next visit, I would first ask, Holy Spirit, you want me to start with Mom, Dad? Usually that's where we want to start. But Holy Spirit, where do you want me to start? I tend to try to go just at the beginning, just out of routine, but it's okay to do different. So I'll start with Dad. So Joseph, your dad, 82. I want you to look back at your life from, say up to 10 years old. Can you tell me what your household looked like at that time? What were things like in your household? You know, and then you couldn't find out that was it rejected, was there a physical thing? What was going on with your dad? And so you get that. Then from there you go, and what age did you leave home? 17. Okay. Then the next place, because we don't know how long 0 to 10 is going to take. What did that look like with Dad and life? Then from 10 to the age you left home, what did life look like with Dad there? So you start getting the details and working through that. Then you go to Mom, and then you're going to talk about, you know, siblings and children and just things. The Holy Spirit will lead you to how to go in that. So, okay. All right. Question number 5. What kind of homework could you give a client? Oh, Brandy, you laughed. Do you have an answer?
I don't always give real conventional. I mean, anytime I feel like I give homework that is like outside of the box, I always come to you and say, I'll let you know this is what I gave them for homework. This is what you've never said, that's terrible. You're like, every single time you're like, I think that's good. I think it's right for the situation. So I think homework is super important.
yes.
I think homework is...
And why? Why do you think it's important?
Because it keeps them working. It keeps them being part of their
Yes.
process. It's
They're
a
invested.
great start when you meet again the next time.
Yeah.
First, let's talk about the homework. Did you do what I read? Did you do? Did you read the book that we talked about? Did you do the with couple stuff? Did you cook dinner together twice this week? Did you whatever those things I gave them? It keeps them in process through the week. It keeps them journaling through the week, whatever the homework is. But I think really, I just really believe, and as we all do, as you see the Holy Spirit kind of give you revelation, there have been a couple of times that I thought to give homework that I was like, goodness, they're going to think I'm crazy if I give them that for homework. But every time, it really has every time. Number one, you're the first one to kind of confirm it because I'm still like, oh, what I gave for homework. And then number two, it always kind of feels like when they come back the next week, it's like, well, we did this, or we didn't do that, or I did this, or something good comes out of it as like a confirmation for me too. If you listen to me.
Give some of the ideas. Do you mind? I think that's important because we think the homework should be, well, read this chapter and make notes and come back to me. Okay, that's homework. What are some other things that you have asked people to do individually or couples, whichever?
Well, I'll just give you a good one. I have a couple that I started seeing, and they're in their mid-30s. They don't have any major crisis issues. They're just missing the mark and have been missing the mark for a lot of years. They have a young daughter. They both work. They have, they're battling to get out. They want to get out of debt, and so they just are busy and they're missing each other. So their homework, their first week was they both had to read the first chapter of the 5 love languages. They both had to, she read the whole book the first week. They both had to figure out what their love language was and what their husband's love language was. That was their first homework. Their second homework was their daughter was gonna be out of town, so their second homework was to cook dinner together 3 nights in the next week. And their third homework was that they had to have sex twice that week. Because they were missing it then. They were missing it. And I said, I don't care when you do it, I will not ask you any details, obviously. But I am asking you
That's the
both.
difference I would ask.
I am asking you, I'm asking
That's the
you
first
both
thing
to
I
be
ask.
committed to, if you get to Sunday night and you know you're coming in Monday, there are times where you just have to be very conscious of this. And it was, neither one of them were like shocked, neither one of them were like, both of them came back in and said, you know, when we on purpose had to think about investing in this place and each other,
That's the key word.
it really did give us a reconnect to come back to, because you told us to. And I was like, I don't know how you're gonna feel about this. And she was like, I think that's good homework. I think it's appropriate homework. I didn't ask them for any kind of but I thought these are people that, this is one of the things that they're just too busy. They're just missing the mark. We're not dealing with a trust or infidelity thing in this area. So it's not an unsafe place for them. And so that was, you know, homework. I'm really personally, I'm really big on journaling. I'm really big on starting to write whatever you want to write, see what comes up, and then let's visit that. I don't know. I think homework is. I think relationship and homework are the two things that the Holy Spirit can use us for the most, to Him give them tangible things through us.
Well, can I say this? That,
Yes.
you know, two things that I've come to discover about that, because I like to get homework too, is A, I like the term that Ken uses, you know, skin in the game. It shows
That's right.
how invested they are. I mean, you took the time and energy, you marked it on your schedule to set up a dedicated time to come here. So that's, first of all, evidence that
Yeah.
you recognize something and you want to do something about it. Whether you can sit here and say, I'm fully, you know, sold out to doing this, or I'm just doing this to put a check mark in the box, because I think it'll be a good thing. You come here and you want something. You might not even know fully what that is yet, but you want something. And so that's evidence to me right there. Second is that they do the homework, and that shows that they're willing to take ownership and be invested and for the better. I mean, because I like what Twyla was saying a while ago. I like often liken it to working out. I like to do these outdoor fitness boot camp sorts of things, you know, where it's a group of people. I like working out with a group of people versus by myself. Not as motivated when I'm by myself. Because it's easy to cut it short or not do as much. But the guy that used to be the guy who was out there, the fitness leader who was leading us, he'd said this one time, a long time ago. It's so simple and so basic. I'd heard it numerous times. I was in the Navy for 20 plus years. So, you know, he'd say, listen, I got you for 1 hour, 4 days a week. What you do with the other 23 hours, that's on you. I have no control what you're going to put in your mouth. I have no control if you're going to do the stretching exercise, if you're going to go home and soak in that, you know, Epsom salt, hot water, ice tub or whatever. I have no control over that. And if you come out here again tomorrow, I'm going to work your butt off as much as I possibly can for 60 minutes, and then you're going to leave, and now the 23 hours are yours. And so I've just found that, you know, when they're really invested, you'll know. And if you give them homework and come back, man, you just don't understand. I had this and this, and I tried to do this, and sometimes, you know, here's another layer. Sometimes they're just scared to approach it.
Right.
They don't have confidence in themselves to be able to sit down and read a half of the first chapter of the 5 love languages or whatever. I found that, and that, you know, that God has taught me you got to have grace there. But you'll also be able to identify when they just are not invested, and they have a litany of excuses.
Miss Ann?
I have made up my own homework as well, depending on the person. I had one particular lady who was a beautiful lady, but she didn't like herself very much. And of course we prayed all the prayers and all that kind of stuff, but for the homework for her, we got to a point where I told her I want you to go home, and I took a little yellow sticky note and I wrote her the simple instructions. look at yourself in the mirror and look at your eyes. What do you see? I said, every day, one time a day, and not to go in the mirror and start putting your makeup on and do whatever. I want you to look at your eyes. What color are they? What are the facets in your eyes? What do you see? I said, I really want you to start looking at yourself, looking back at yourself. Not your physical self, but you. And I said, and look at your eyes. How God made you just so individual. There's not another eye like your eye. And how special you are. And I said, at first you're going to feel like you're stupid. You're like, oh, I'm just dumb. And you start, I said, but you'll do it. By day 3, you'll be going, wow, I've got some really neat looking eyes. I said, because you've got beautiful eyes. And I started saying, thank you, Jesus, for my beautiful eyes. And we just kept working, and it really helped her a lot. We moved on to her body. You know, it's like, these are my fat arms, but they're mine. You know what I mean? And it's like to learn to love yourself, and it started helping her. And then I had another lady that was just very compulsive, had made a list of 20 and 30 things a day that she had to perform. And if she couldn't get them all done, she felt like she failed. And it was like, whoa, ooh, let's back that up. I said, I want you to make a list of 5 things. Just 5. 5? I said, only 5. And she's like, and I said, just pick 5. And that day, that's all you're going to mark off. And then I'd make her cut that list down sometimes and say, do 2 of those 5. Oh, and it's like, yeah, you could do that. And I said, what am I going to do the rest of the time? I said, you are going to go out and lay by the pool. You're going to read a book. You're going to take a walk. You're going to listen to music. You're going to go eat with your friends. She was just working,
Right.
just a workaholic. And it really helped her as well. Just things that fit their situation that they were having having problems with. So homework can be very tailored to the person.
This is what we really get into when we do some life coaching, when we're helping people identify these things, and not our counseling prayer time where we go back and find roots and that kind of thing. And life coaching is really important because a lot of people are missing chunks of how do I deal with life.
And it's important too, because that's the relational piece that trusts them when you lead them in their process. It really is a lot about building a relationship with them, because we are asking them to share with us the hard things in their life, and to jump in too soon. I think that it's the most crucial thing is to give them, when you first are with a client, find a common ground, find something that says, me too, and y'all have heard me say it before, I believe those are the 2 most life-changing words outside of Jesus that we can speak as me too. What about your story can I relate to and you relate to, and see in me that there's not judgment, that if you don't love motherhood all day long, I don't either. I'm a mother and I love my kids. I don't love it all the time. I don't like it some of the time. And then that mother who's struggling can go, maybe she won't think I'm terrible when I tell her this or whatever. And how do I build a place where you feel safe with me to say this happened, or I'm really struggling with this, and then I gain ground in their life to say the Holy Spirit can heal you from this thing that is the root of where that comes from. If we jump in too soon, we've lost them.
What do you mean, Brandy, when you say jump? Tell me a little bit more what you mean by that, jumping in too soon.
For one, I think it's super important in building a relationship. I learn where you are spiritually. I learn where you are in seasons of life. And so I can come to you and I can say, if you're a super mature Christian, we can jump in really early. We can talk about the spiritual warfare and the principalities of spirits in your life, those kind of things. If I've built a relationship with you and I can talk to you and learn that there's a lot of spiritual wounding, there's a relationship with God, but if I jump in too fast we're going to jump into the root cause of these things and the spiritual things in your life, chances are I'm never going to get a chance to minister to you again, because I've jumped into a place that you're not, and what I love, my favorite thing that Jan says, and she says it almost every single day that I work with her, it's just okay. It's just okay. If you're not at a place where we're ready to walk through 25 4-part prayers in the next month and we're doing 1 or 2 at a time, it's just okay that you're there right now. If we've spent a time together and you don't feel like this is a fit, it's just okay. If this looks like way more work than you want to do, it's just okay. So building that relationship, I get to know where you are, and it is our job to meet them where they are.
Yeah, because so what I kind of hear out of that is by perhaps taking that approach, it'll help them to stay engaged in the process. That you might not be making big chunks of things every time. You may only do 1 or 2, you may only do this much, but because they're experiencing that relationship, they're building trust. They're experiencing and feeling something, which is causing them to have confidence. Having peacefulness about themselves to continue going. Okay.
When she teaches and Dawn introduces her at the first class, Dawn introducing her at her first class and saying, I live with her, what she teaches you, I've seen it change her life. He doesn't have to give us 10 stories on how it's changed her life, but he, who knows her better than anybody else, gives her position to stand up and say, this is real. And then we look at her a little bit different because there's a spot that she now, okay, you're teaching me from a place of I've been there. And then she gets up and she shares a little bit of her testimony before her very first class. And she tries really hard to hit on enough points quickly. I'm not giving you the details, but I'm hitting on enough points quickly that most people in this room can find somehow to find a me too. Me too. I did that. I
Yeah.
struggle with that. And she's covered a 10-minute testimonial and shared enough about herself to give her space to speak into their life, and they're open to it. Instead of, that woman probably came out the womb saved, speaking in tongues filled with the Holy Spirit. And someone who's like, I'm broken, and I started coming to this church 2 months ago, and I don't really know, if I think you came out the womb saved, and I'm a brand new believer struggling with drug addiction, how do you have a place to speak in my life? You don't, and that's not her fault. That's our own defenses saying, I can't hear from you because you have no idea what I've been through. You have no position. I didn't mean to go on that, but I just really think relationship stuff is key. It's so key.
I think we have to look at that client, when they walk in the room, they've already accomplished something.
Yes.
And give them kudos, they showed up.
They showed up.
Yeah,
Yes.
and even be able to say, you may not feel that something has happened, because they always want to look for something, but the moment you stepped in, you showed God, you said to him, I want to change, and change starts. Whether you feel it or not, you'll recognize it at some point, and let them have that, let them have that to take on.
Even if they show up late.
Yeah.
Even if they show up.
2 things, and I'll make this real quick, because we kind of lingered on this one, but it's a good one. On the last point about speaking into other people's lives, if you don't develop relationship, trust, whatever, Dawn introducing Jan, that's not personal between Jan and the audience, but there's enough information conveyed that folks say, I understand that. She probably understands something about me in something that's said, and the Holy Spirit does that. But for instance, for me to minister to John in drug addiction, John's not a drug addict, but I have got to make a deposit in him, an investment in him, before I have permission to speak into his life. If I just walk up to him and the first time we meet and I just jump right in, he doesn't know who I am other than some guy that Brandy set an appointment with. There's no investment, there's no deposits been made. His reaction, and one of the clues to this is it's not working, is, and he may or may not verbalize it, who's this guy think he is? He doesn't have any right to talk to me about that. That's none of his business. When you start Whether they say it, you see it, and they're probably not gonna say it, but that's a clue that you hadn't made enough deposits to make withdrawals in their life. Number one. Number two, on homework. Brandy's the queen of homework. I have learned, the Lord has allowed us to do some counseling together with couples and with problems, and I have learned so much in that area. And for example, I'm thinking of 3 instances. One, this is not Brandy, I was actually counseling with John with somebody else, co-counseling. And one of the things I gave them for homework was to get off Facebook.
Yeah, I've given that many times.
I mean, that's probably pretty common, but I mean, it was so toxic, you know, because this situation kept flaring up, and that's where it came from. And I think he did that maybe for a while. But anyway, another thing, and this was homework Brandy gave to a couple at one point in time, is teach them how to fight. They didn't know how to fight. And the homework specifically was, go home, come up with rules of engagement. And when you come back next time, we're going to talk about what are the rules of engagement. What do you never say? What do you always say? Just 3 things. This is how you fight fair. Because that tells you 100 things you can't do that's so devastating. Another situation, she and I counseling a couple, they just weren't engaging. There were 2 people living in a house, was about it. And I guess being around Brandy and hearing some of her weird homework, the Holy Spirit dropped this one on me. Have them take Corinthians, the love, love does this, love does that, then write it out, put it on the mirror, and y'all stand in front of the mirror, one of you back to the mirror, the other one hug that one and read it. Then you turn around and do the opposite. She taught me how to do that stuff. but seriously, it's unlimited what can be done for homework. But the whole idea is to reinforce or maybe even institute thoughts, plans, ideas. Okay?
Quickly, we have the resources, they're in the file in one of the counseling rooms, I think in the main counseling room. They're the 5 love language tests are in those file drawers. And there's also, I think it's called, how do you face conflict? Are you passive aggressive? What is your way that you face a conflict? And it also gives scripture and it gives a lot of understanding. That test is in that drawer too. If you didn't know that, now you do. And maybe take it yourself and see where you fall in that round. But if they understand how the other person is going to react, it helps. And then a little bit of teaching is in that handout you can give them about a better way to handle weaknesses and strength in those areas. So, wow, we may have another basic training thing. This is good though. Are y'all getting something out of this?
Oh, yeah.
I think it's great. So. Let's see, giving advice, teaching, if the client isn't talking and you have, you need to be listening to them, guiding them. Sometimes we want to tell them our stories so much that we've spent and I've had clients call and say, I can tell you everything about that person, but I bet you they can't tell you anything about me. Now that may or may not have been true, but that's how they felt. So we have to be careful just how much that we want to share about us so they know that we're understand them. Like I said, I can give my life in 10 minutes, and it certainly took more than that to do all those things that I was a part of and have done to me. But I mean, we can let them know we understand without, so just see how you're doing that. How do you deal with an unsaved person, a person of different faith? The same way you deal with a Christian. You're not here to beat Jesus down their throats. You're here to take them through wherever that place of hurting is in them. They know they've walked into a Christian counseling office. They know you're going to use the name of Jesus, but you just go through it as if they are or not. It doesn't. And the layers are moved and removed that keeps them from accepting Christ because they don't feel worthy, they feel unloved, or they're mad or angry at God because somebody died, somebody's hurt. Then that time will come, and I've had it happen more than once. And somebody has looked at me and said, you know that prayer that you said when you accepted Jesus, can I pray that with you now? Yes. Like, well, no, it's not in my time frame. So yeah, you automatically do. But you know, they've reached a place they're ready to do that. You love them where they're at. They know they're in a Christian counseling office. We don't have to beat them over the head with scriptures in the name of Jesus to make them get right before they get healed. Let me tell you, God can heal them before
Oh, yeah.
they receive Him. He does that because they see the power of who He is, and then they want Him.
So we
So
have to kind of be careful maybe sometimes because we're so used to speaking our Christianese
yeah,
with each other.
yeah.
Those terms may not.
They don't understand the term, they beat them up, so we have to be careful. We can even say to something like, well, I think you're dealing with this is going on. They don't know, what does that mean? You just told me I have a demon? Are you saying I have a demon? No, that's not quite what I said. So we just have to be careful, we just have to love them. And again, if you don't have a relationship, you should be saying that to them anyway. You know, so get a relationship, get comfortable. I've done it wrong. And I'm learning to how to do it right. So you got to know your client. Don't assume. Fees. You want to talk about fees? Anybody? Want to talk about fees?
Sure.
Well, I think that sometimes we are self-conflicted because we are a Christian ministry and we want to help everybody. And sometimes people come in, I think, with the mindset of this is a Christian organization, and so we know that Christians never charge for anything. They just give everything out for free, and so come in maybe with that expectation. But Brandy is good about going over fees and stuff with the call, right? So they have some understanding, but that, there are people who truly cannot. Their finances are in such disarray, they truly cannot pay. And so I think that Holy Spirit has to let us know if this is a client that's going to really invest in the process, even though they cannot pay, they financially cannot invest. And so we can invest in them and do some life coaching so that they can get their finances in order, so that maybe one day that they can. But I always struggled with just how do I handle with them? If you can't pay, I know that Jan always says everybody can pay something. So I had a couple of clients that I knew they lived on really limited fixed incomes, and so we talked about that at the beginning. And I said, when you can, be intentional about it. When you can, pay what you can. So sometimes they wouldn't pay anything, and the next time they might bring me $20. But I let them know that it is okay that we're working together, but that you can invest in this, and that this is furthering the work of the kingdom when you invest in this ministry in this way. So I don't know, maybe didn't handle it all correctly.
No, and the other thing you do is barter. Somebody may be a massage therapist, somebody may do the nails, somebody may be a housekeeper, maybe whatever it may be. There could be a bartering. If you want to do that, you don't have to do that. The thing is, people invest in themselves, they're going to get sin. And I'm the world's worst to tell you this, because I will take clients and not say a word. That's what I've done for you. I'm the world's worst, but I also am the best one to tell you those that have paid and those that have invested in that time have done better faster than any other, period. Because I just had to pay for that. It wasn't a freebie, they'll do it. And then, so I'm telling you, let them invest in themselves. It's just very, very important. I need you to think about, as a CPM, what you want to, because we have a lot of people that want to do pro bono that may need to because they don't have the funding at the time. Even bringing $1 is out of the question. But most people, you can say, well, this is the way I'm learning to do, is I'm saying to a client that they said, I can't pay that. Say, what works for you then? Well, say it very bubbly. Okay, well, what works for you? Just tell me what works for you, because we don't turn anybody down. We're here for you. We want to help you. So what works for you? Write down nothing. Okay, well, then next week, we'll see what works for you next week. But this week, let's just get going. Or does $5 work, $1 work, whatever. Just something, to let them invest in themselves. Maybe, I don't know if it's Brandy, somebody said, well, maybe they have a teenager that can babysit your kids and you know them well enough to allow that to happen. Sometimes, well, can you, your daughter babysit or you babysit my kids or whatever. Just find something to work with them on that. Anybody else have a comment?
Well, just that I let them know on the phone that because and I give them a really brief spiel, we're a nonprofit, but we are individual CPMs under the umbrella of CUMI Ministries. So there is training and things that your CPM has invested into their work. Our fee, in case anybody isn't aware, our fee changed a few months back. Our fee is $45 a session. This is what our session fee is. Is that an issue? If they say yes, I say, okay, you will have, we don't tell anybody no, that we can't see them. You will have an opportunity when you see your CPM to discuss with them where y'all can meet in the middle. And then I do tell them, years and years of experience has shown that people that have an investment in their process do much better. And so we're trying to make this as successful for you as possible. That's how I handle it in that. And so then when they come in with you, Beverly was the first one that ever introduced the bartering idea to me, and I thought it was brilliant. She had a client who was a massage therapist, so she couldn't pay anything, but she had services. I had a client that she remodels furniture, and so she couldn't pay me anything, but we agreed that when I have something that needs to be done, that she'll do it, and we'll figure out my hours versus her hours, and you can do that too. And then they've got an investment. But what you don't want, and this is from experience, and I felt really bad about it, and I feel like I need to share it because it may apply, and you guys may get to judge me today, but I had to go to Jan, and I said, I have this client that from the get-go, she said she couldn't pay, she's paying $5 a session. Every session she comes in, she's got a large Starbucks coffee and a muffin from Starbucks every single week. I felt myself starting to get very resentful. I did, because she would tell me about trips she was taking her kids on. I'm thinking, I don't get to take my kids on trips to the fair where we spend $300. And so I said to Jan, I feel resentment rising up with her because she can afford to pay something. It doesn't have to be the $45. And she said, then talk to her. And when I did, I said, look, been working together this long, our fees just went up, and so I really can't afford to see you for, I don't remember, I didn't word it like that, but I basically said I can't see you for less than $25 a session. Now, if we need to go to where we see each other, she was paying $10 a session. If we need to go to see each other every other week to make that more feasible, we can do it. And she said, okay, we'll just go to every other week. Never an issue again. And then I let myself get resentful and then feel guilty and then Lord forgive me because it's not about the money, but why does she keep doing it? She even asked if I wanted a Starbucks, you know what I mean? Just getting in my own flesh, and so you don't want that either. So
I love it that you said that.
sorry.
And you get to do that with your client. You get to figure out what works with you and your client. That doesn't come into the ministry, so we don't need to know how you work that. We're just telling you the best way to make it work. Find out how many you will see pro bono, and when you've had your limit, Brandy, I can't take any more, that can't pay right now. And I have said to a client before that came in that let me know that she will get her nails done and she will have Mary Kay. And I'd been working with her 6 months and never paid a penny. And one day she said something about that and all, and I don't even understand why y'all charge a fee. You'd think Christians wouldn't. I said, you know, and I hit the table like that. I said, that's what I said to EMC when they wanted me to pay my electric bill. I'm a Christian. It just came out of my mouth. And she went, what does that mean? I said, that means I still have bills to pay.
Yeah, this is what
And I don't
do.
use Mary Kay. And I don't have my nails done. Okay. She started paying me after that. She only came one more time. But that was okay. But that was okay. And that was probably not the best way, but that's the truth. And, you know, you just, so anyway, y'all can just figure it out with them. It's important. Be consistent. Be kind. Set boundaries. How many clients do you want a week? Set your boundaries. How many days you're going to see somebody? Set your boundaries. If you want to use our offices, we want you to. Here's one of the things that come up about sometimes my client can't come on this day and this is the only day I'm in. here's how that works. We can't have it just open in the calendar. You look at it and go, well, I'll see nobody's there on Thursday, I'm gonna take it. Thursday all day is Ken's day. Ken may not have any class that day, but Ken may decide this is my day, I paid for this day, and I'm gonna be there all day, and because I need to work on some things, I need the privacy, I need the quiet. It's his office, this is his office. He paid for his office for that day. You have a half a day, your office that day. But you have a client and that's the only day you can see. Then you call Ken. Hey Ken, I see you don't have anybody on the calendar for Thursday. I'm not sure if you're using your office. I have a client that needs to come at 2 on Thursdays. Would your office happen to be available that I might can use it? And he'll let you know yes or no, but don't assume that you can use it because Ken has nothing on there. What you got to get the mindset is somebody's paid for this day, this time frame. That's their office. So you asking me if you can use Ken's office doesn't do any good because then I'm assuming because he didn't have any. Yeah, he didn't have anybody in the calendar. Sure, go ahead. So call the person that time frame is set for if you need to borrow the office because they may want to use the office when it's your time frame that you've rented as well. Okay, and then that way it's between whoever time frame it is, and it doesn't, the ministry, Beverly doesn't have to look at the calendar and go, yeah, it looks like it's free. Well, it may look like it, but you don't know what that person that has rented that time wants to happen in his office, her office that day. So
What do you
just
mean when
handle.
you're saying they pay for their office?
Okay, what we do, John, for the CPMs is that if you want to rent a half a day a week for the month, it's $25.
A month.
A month. And so then if Tuesday morning is or Tuesday night is your night, then that's the time frame you want to rent it for. So for the whole month, that time frame is yours for $25. I need a whole day. Okay, then it's $40 a month. So that helps us to pay the rent. Then it also gives you ownership of, yeah, come to my office, so-and-so, because that's your office. You're paying for that office, you're investing in that office, and that is something you say to your client, well, I've invested, this cost me in many different, if you have to explain anything to them and you don't. So you get to have that time frame, and then you can just swap out with each other as far as borrowing.
So 2 nights a week, for example, would be $50 a month?
Well, that would be like a day, we could make it 40 for when you do something like that, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know, I'll talk to you, I may go up to 60, I don't know. So,
How did you brought it up?
Let me make,
I
I'm sorry, go ahead.
was just gonna say, is it advisable to meet clients other places than the office here?
The reason of doing the office, one, the professionalism of it is you're coming into an office and they feel they're going to a professional place.
Yeah.
I get that. But if you're in Pensacola and you want to see someone in your home and you have a place to do that, what happens when we bring them in our home? Sometimes that can bring such a personal place that they forget they're supposed to leave. Or they can stop by any day, because I know where you live and I've stopped by there, hey, I just want to, I'm having a problem here, can I talk to you? I know, So you have to set solid boundaries if you're going to use your home, solid boundaries if you're going to use a workplace, if you're going to use the parks. So it doesn't mean you can't see somewhere else, but recognize that there is boundaries you better set in advance because they will step over it if you don't. And so the thing that happens in this office, here's a waiting room, here's your time frame, your time is up, my next one's coming in, it's a professional thing. So that's the benefit of it, but I'm not telling you have to use this office. Because also somebody that lives in Gulf Shores may come to Erica, has her massage business in Gulf Shores, she can use that as her office to see clients up there because that's can be an office professional place to her home. So it's not saying not to, you just think of the open doors that you give them when it gets too personal sometimes.
And also recognizing that your family is taking that in. I can say from experience and watching that for the last 2 years. We ministered out of the home, the Parks and the boys, their kids. You started recognizing that this was wearing on them, and they felt like no one was really asking them what could happen and what was supposed to be their home.
Right.
So being aware that your wife, your children, your family, when you invited into your home that moment, then you're inviting them into your family environment. and your family is making just as big a sacrifice as you are to be with that client. And just being aware that you're inviting them on that journey too, and not assuming that it's okay with everybody in the house because this is my client, this is where I'm choosing to meet, or whatever, or vice versa.
That's
Bringing
good.
them around your family. And
Well, you're bringing your work home.
yes, and
My
So
husband
you want to
actually
take your
asked
work
me
home.
last week not to see clients at our house.
Yes.
And my husband doesn't want me to, because we've done that for years when I
Can we
didn't
not
have
have
a
one home?
home.
It's because home is your safe
Yeah.
environment, and if I've observed something, it has to be. I mean, it sounds like it's convenient, it sounds like it's loving, and you're inviting them into a safe environment. Your home is awesome and all of that, but it just blurs the lines for your relationships in your home.
Where's the line?
And your home stops being a family atmosphere and becomes a work atmosphere. And everybody starts going to that cadence, whether we like it or not. And it's just, I don't know.
And that might not be everybody's thing.
Yeah,
You might not have
right.
kids at home, or your
Right.
spouse may not feel the same way.
Yes.
I know for mine, the one we were talking about is somebody we've been in a relationship with for the last 5 or 6 years. But Brian was just like, I don't know, I just feel like when we're with them as friends, home is fine. But when you're working with them as a couple, I don't, he said, I would rather you not do
That's
counter
nice.
stuff here.
That's nice.
I think of too, what are you inviting into your
Right,
home?
that's
absolutely,
good, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, now they know where you live and.
Yeah.
What
But
about
like,
on the other side of the
but-
coin, Jan? Like if they invite you to go to their house
as a friend or to come and counsel?
as a counsel?
Well, then you're really that same boundary you said. But if you go to their house, you can get up and leave their house far better than you can hope they'll get out.
Yeah.
So, you know, so that can be a different look as well. And depending on circumstance, some people can't get out. So if it's a bedridden place, so you're going to have to weigh each individual thing.
See what
But
the
again,
circumstance is, yeah.
look at how.
Well, the question I was trying to pose was, is this the only place we can see clients? And
Yeah.
I think that we have, wherever we see them, as Jan said, we have to maintain the boundaries, and that this is a professional meeting, this is not a friendly chat kind of fun. I have an office space in my house where I can shut all the doors, so if I wanted to see somebody at my home, they would come in and go immediately into my office space, and they would know that that's the only place in my house that they're permitted to go. So it depends on the circumstance, but my question was, is it allowable? Can we meet people
Sure.
in places? So I just
Well,
want to
sure,
bring that
it's
question.
allowable, but the main thing is just consider how it's going to affect you as a whole. And is that why it's like Carrie coming from Gulf Breeze over here is like John from Pensacola, even further from Miss Carrie to come over here to see one client, like, or something. So, you know, you set the boundaries in your home, and is it okay? Or go to the church and use the church and see if they have a place or things like that. Just figure it out to not get yourself in a position that you're trying to get out of, and then they think you've rejected them, and then what kind of counselor are you when you're not there when I need you?
And I'll add to that, Carrie and John, we got our Pensacola branch,
Yeah.
we'll take care of that.
There you go.
But seriously,
That's right.
my wife absolutely told me in the very beginning, no counseling at all, period. I've done a lot of phone counseling, and even when I do phone counseling, she doesn't want to walk by and hear it. So I'll either go back in the back office, or I'll go in the garage outside. And there's something about that boundary for me, not just for her, but for me, and you're doing it to yourself if you bring that stuff into your house. Because as Twyla said, that's your place of refuge and escape, and I don't care how much you love this, there's a time you need to cut it off and spend time alone, family, with God, whatever. So again, it's that self-discipline. Jan said boundaries. On the money part, if you've got any guilt about charging and you're just not sure about all that, stop and take an inventory of how much money you spent on books, how much money you spent in gasoline, like John, Carrie, running back and forth to Pensacola, or just your house. What does your car cost? Sometimes you got to put tires back on it.
You
In
gotta
addition-
dress good.
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition to that, you could be working somewhere making X number of dollars an hour. So and then you're paying rent, and then, you're not collecting fees for being here this morning. You didn't collect fees for being here last Monday night. There's a lot of time invested, and if your time's not worth anything, come see me, I got something I need you to do.
Me too.
Bartering on the money part, bartering is a non-taxable event, if that's an issue. Okay.
Good. Just real quick on the intake form, you notice that I filled it out with John. Now, sometimes I know some counselors, CPMs, that let them fill out their form ahead of time. I personally was trained to, and I believe filling out the form with them is relational. Very relational. If they fill it out at home, I don't know where they had to stop in that and take a 2-hour break, because that just costs too much pain to answer. So you filling it out with them is a relational event that I think is very, very important, and I'm asking you to fill out the form for them. Can they fill out the top part, their name, address? Sure. But walk with them through filling out their form. Male-female protection and professionalism. If you're seeing somebody of the opposite sex, it is your duty to make sure someone, whether it doesn't have to be one of us, is also in the office, but somebody else is in the office. So there's 3 people in there just for profession, because the enemy will send somebody by that's going to see, what are you two doing here at 7 o'clock tonight, or 5 this afternoon? Is Jan here, or where's Brad? The enemy would want to do that. It doesn't have to be one of us. Judy has come up and sat in the other room working on a book, iPad book, something while Ken was seeing someone of the opposite sex. His wife came up. Brandy's had one of her children come up and sit when she was seeing someone. So it's just that professional place that the doors aren't closed. There's 2 people back there, and they're of the opposite sex. So you just keep that in mind. And even in your own home, that's the same rule in your own home. That's the rule of this ministry. So. And you want to share about how this upcoming for learning helps and observations of being in with the CPMs and.
As you know, when you are becoming a CPM, you go through your one-on-one counseling, and then you get to sit in on as a silent intercessor just to observe how someone does counseling. And now we are going to be having someone to come and sit in with you as a silent intercessor while you counsel, so that we can give you feedback and help you to grow in your counseling skills. But we also want to now to start to sit in on some of you well-trained, mature counselors, so that we can see what your style is and how you work, and it will also help us in training others. But also, we can give you feedback and say, oh, this is really great. I like the way you did that, and I just saw how you listened to the Holy Spirit, and this is wonderful. But then in this situation, I wonder if you have thought about this, just to help you to grow. And most of you know, when we're in professions, that we have to continue in education units if we're going to keep our certification. And so we want to be here to help you. So just know that in the future, that one of us, and maybe even some of you, will ask you, would you be willing to sit in on as a silent intercessor? And that in itself is such a blessing and help. But we also have to prepare our client that today, if you don't mind, we would like to have one of our other counselors to sit in today, just as the silent intercessor. They're not going to be engaging in anything, but we're growing and learning, and this is part of our ongoing training. However you think we need to handle all of that, but just want you to be prepared that this is a place that we're moving to in the future, to help you in your professional growth. So I hope everybody will be okay with that. I know that each one of us might get just a little bit nervous, and that's okay, that we know somebody's gonna be sitting in with us, and so don't stop and let the enemy go there and say, oh, what if I say something wrong, or what if I do something wrong, then they're gonna be, no, that is not what it is to have at all. Just have your mind at ease, so.
Personally, I'm looking forward to that I want Ann to sit in with me when I'm with somebody. I'll tell you why, is we become routine many times. We become so used to doing something a certain way that we get into a routine and we handle a situation maybe the same way. And we forget, it's like the simplicity of Christ sometimes, that we forget these little things that we used to do. Oh, I used to do that. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that, or God bless you, or whatever that looks like. So to have somebody sit in with a fresh look that either we can learn from each other, like, oh, Ann could go, oh, I forgot, I used to do that with the client, and I forgot about that. So it works in both directions, is that we can learn from each other and we can teach each other. So I'm really looking forward to this. And want Ann to start this and get this even for my own self. I'm nervous I'm nervous when somebody sitting and listening to me, but you know why? Because the enemy says, because you're probably going to do it wrong. Well, if I'm listening to the Holy Spirit, I'm not going to do it wrong. I may not do it the way that you would want me to do it, or you would have done it, but if that's the way Holy Spirit wanted it for that person, particular situation, then it's just perfect, and we're going to go there. So learning from each other, get out of our set ways of things that we used to do, we don't do anymore. Even doing this intake, I thought of ways that I used to do things that I had not gone back like that before. I've stopped doing that. Oh, I need to remember that, So that's the purpose of it. It's not to catch us doing things right or wrong. It's just to teach us to grow together.
And the person, as you said, that's sitting in as a silent intercessor, you're going to be learning, because you're going to be seeing different ways that people handle situations, and so you're going to glean something new from every situation that.
I can't wait to sit in on Brandy.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about that.
No, we don't have to.
No pressure.
That's between Ann and I.
Oh.
All right, anybody have any questions that you are burning inside of you want to ask that hasn't been answered? Did we cover things well for you? You learn anything?
Question number 10.
You can't ask questions, you're up here.
John,
Okay.
ask.
Oh, yeah, that is the.
And how do you handle a person who appears suicidal? That's good. How did I skip over that? Thank you.
And in addition to that, let's suppose you've got a client, maybe it's first time, maybe it's whatever, and they reveal, or that they are also seeing somebody for mental health, or another counselor, or a military counselor if they've been in the military. There's various things going on, but this suicide things, they throw up a flag, and hadn't thought about it lately, but and then just in conversation there's little clues. Or maybe they do say, man, it's been so miserable the last 6 months, and I've often wondered, is it even worth it? Or man, I thought about just eating the bud. And I mean that's pretty direct.
Right.
And so
But it happens.
I have a counseling guide, I'm sorry, Kling.
No, please.
I
go
have a
ahead.
counseling guide that I've used in the past by Tim Clinton. So I think it was just Tim Clinton. Anyway, there's many different sections in there dealing with many different issues, and one of them being suicidal. And there's one part in there that talks about, if a person seems to be beating around the bush, we're kind of talking about that. You specifically ask that question. One thing I found out in a session, I learned, it came to light not because somebody told me, because I've experienced it, was the person, I sat there and all of a sudden the person was actually telling me that how they would do it if they chose to do it. They had already developed a plan. And I knew right then, so I paused, I literally paused and got that counseling, I said, I read this somewhere. And I said, I would never do that. I said, can you give me a second? I just got to step out for a quick second. I'll be right back. And I went and looked at the book and everything. There was he offered guidance on what to do whatever. And I knew right then that I needed to point that person, or I needed to see if they would be willing to, and they were, fortunately, praise God, they were willing to see somebody, they were at a different level. And, I mean, they said, they had already formulated a plan. That they knew life was rough right now, things were going okay today, but if it really took a turn, any more worse than what they've been experiencing, they already figured it out. And so, you know, for me, situational things like that are things that concern me. Kind of like if we're counseling somebody who exhibits suicidal tendencies, or if somebody comes in and they have a true, I mean, if they're actually in the throes of a drug addiction, if somebody comes in and they're in the middle, they're having an affair. They're there because their marriage is jacked up, but they're with the other person right now, and they're seeing us, you know. I mean, those are situational, I guess, is that the correct way to say that? That's not a place where we dive off into, you know, I mean, what do we do with those? I mean, kind of know, you know.
Another one too, is very important, is a minor coming in and exposing the fact that someone's touched them inappropriately.
Yeah.
It's very important to know what to do in that and to have those procedures in place as a ministry, because according to Alabama law, regardless of what your role is in the community, you have to report that to the authorities.
Yeah.
And get the appropriate people involved. I know that in Mobile, there's a child access center. I've worked with them in the past. And in that place, once you call into that, it alleviates your part in it, and they take it from there. And it's considered a one-stop, a one place, that the person, you could even call in anonymously and say, this is the situation, this is the people involved, and then you turn it over to them and they take it because it's legal, it's social, it's everything they need to take care of it. And it keeps you from having that responsibility any further. It's very important to handle that for that child's sake, though, on the front end, or the minor. And the parents or people might, if you know them, don't know them very well, might go, why do we have to do all this? Well, because that child is going to carry that if they don't, and legally they can come back on you and say you've seen a crime, it's considered a crime, and you didn't report it. And so by negating to say anything is also, so that's a situation that I thought too, that, I mean, that may be extreme, but.
Well, not necessarily, because there's also been couples that have come in where, not couples, but the female portion of and she's being abused. She's being
Yes.
abused.
Yes, that's another one.
You know what I mean? And there's kids in the home. So, I mean, I don't think we're not going to not see it. You guys have probably already, but I don't think we're going to have those folks come in.
Yeah.
What do we do? I mean, we have to be able to, the mom comes in and she's being abused and she's just too scared to go tell the cops.
Yeah.
You've told me now. Now I have a legal responsibility. I
Yes.
mean, to tell someone as a lay counselor, if somebody in the church, if I was seeing somebody in the church and this lady came in and told me that, and I'm saying case in point, no name, I had to go tell my pastor.
Yeah.
Because my pastor, because legally, that you have to do something about that.
And to err on the side of caution, they've signed their paperwork, right? And it says on here that when I go over this, I do hit the highlights with people. I say, you're free to read it, or we can do it kind of quickly. I'll give you the gist of it. But when I get to this permission part, I always say, you have confidence in my confidentiality. However, I do have permission because of my training in the umbrella that I fall under to discuss with Jan or another appropriate CPM under that same umbrella. Anything that I feel like I need some guidance on, or I'm not really sure what to do with. So if you have something where you're just like, I don't really know what to do with this, go to Jan. I hate to put more on her, but she does know where we need to go with certain things. And if you're not sure, don't do nothing. Even if it's not something major, but it's kind of stumped you, or you're just not sure.
Yeah.
We're all here together to, share experience and.
I would say every CPM should have all the emergency things.
What's that?
You should have, all the CPMs should have a all those emergency things like the suicidal hotline. They should have all that information to give their clients based on whatever it is that they're going through. If there's abuse in the home, having probably some pamphlets that you can get. And I believe, at least I thought we used to have it on our form that when they sign that any illegal things that are discussed are to be reported. Like we, by law, tell them we
That's
have to
what it
report
says here.
Yeah.
It's in accordance with the laws of the state.
Exactly.
of
So if
Alabama.
somebody says that they've committed a crime or any, sexual acts, we have to report it. I know with me, anything, I've dealt with people suicidal. We have to be educated what are suicidal thoughts, when you're seeing a client. I read just recently, if somebody says the thing's not, here's a good example. I'm not suicidal, but I really don't want to be here. I'm not going to take my life, but I really don't want to be here. That is a suicidal thought. Just that, even if they said, no, I don't want to take my life, but I don't want to be here, they're contradicting. They're obviously thinking that. So you got to know those things too. You got to be able to read into that.
And we have resources. We've been giving them out in the past, so it might be a good opportunity to bring that up. They're in the file drawer to make sure they're available, that we could send it as attachment to all the CPM. That's available with all the numbers and the resources that we have. And as I deal with somebody that comes in with suicidal thoughts, tendencies, or in conversation, I want to know exactly what are you talking about. Or do you have it planned out? Do you know how you're going to do it? No, I'm okay if I just don't wake up in the morning. I'm not going to take my life though. Okay, so what does that really look like? So if you really know that they're serious, they seriously are contemplating. My first visit with someone, I am saying to them, this is confidential. You can trust this place, the confidentiality. But if you do something, if there's something illegal or life-threatening, then it is my duty to take that to the appropriate sources. Other than that, everything that you're sharing with me is confidential. It's between me and the Lord, unless if I have to go to my superior for help. Blah blah blah. They've already signed that form. So I've had to do this more than once, not often in all my many years, but I have had to say, this is because of what you just said to me, what I hear. Here's your two choices. Either you're going to call a relative right now on the phone, like if they're married, your husband, your wife, or mother or father, or your child, whatever, and I'm going to talk to them, tell them that they'll take responsibility to get you somewhere for help over to Pensacola and give them the places wherever, or I'm going to call 911 and have the emergency medical services come and get you. That's your two choices. Which one do you want to do? And then I've had the spouse come and so what's really important there is in your records, although these are my notes, they're not your records. In my notes, in parentheses, I'm going to quote down what that person has stated, and then I'm going to quote back the option I gave, the choice they made to clear myself. Husband arrived at 3:57. They are to go to Pensacola to Baptist Specialty Center, left it with us. All right, what happens? They ended up not going, but that wasn't. But I gave responsibility to their responsible emergency contact person, so that's how that had to go down in the handle there. All right, now a sexual situation that came in where a minor child was being sexually abused. I went to the parent because to that child I'll say to them, unless you tell me something that's illegal or life-threatening, I will not discuss these things that you share with me with your parents. Or if I'm going to say something to your parents about something you tell me, I will say to you, because of what you just said, I'm going to have to talk to your parent, and I want you to know this is what I'm going to tell them. Whether they get mad or not, doesn't matter. This is what I'm going to tell them. But otherwise, I keep so they know they're in a safe place to tell me things. So then I called that parent in and said, I talked to that parent separately. This is what your child said. Are you aware of that? In fact, I talked to the husband and wife actually and said, this is what this child said happened in this situation. Are you aware of that? And they were not. And then the child came in and talked to all. And then I said, so how do you want me to proceed with that? Do you want me to call?
Yes.
Or do you want to, as parents, are you taking on the responsibility to do this? Yes, we are. I said, okay. And I made that note. I said, I'm making that notation. Then you as parents are taking the responsibility to get help for your child and to bring this situation to law enforcement to have it follow through with that. So,
Which brings up another thought too, I'm sorry. You know, not every person that comes to us might be in the right frame of mind.
That's
And
right.
it's appeared that way initially at the outset of the counseling session. But I thought about this when you were saying that is, you know, if it's whoever, it could be a guy or a girl, you know, but you know, if you say, because of what you just told me, you have two choices. Then you're going to either do this or I have to do this. And I go, oh, no, you're not. And I'm going to make sure of that right here, right now. You know, I don't know how we can best assess that when these people are coming in, but, you know, just like we were saying a moment ago, if I'm seeing a female, you know, then my wife or another person needs to be in the same building, in the room, sitting right outside the room there, or something like that, or, you know, I mean, I pray, I'm speaking this out as basically prayer, you know, God will give us discernment to know that, so that, I might be seeing a guy, but I might say, hey, Ken, I need you sitting in the room next door, because I'm not sure how this guy's, I'm gonna ask him these things, or if this comes up,
Right.
I don't know, I mean, those are, you know, those are perhaps extreme situations in some senses, but in some sense, sometimes it's not. They might come in as peaceful as any other person halfway through the session.
right.
And we don't know that. I mean, we don't know it, but I mean,
Right.
it's something that we got to consider. I mean,
You
because
have to consider
if I become, you tell me you're about to call 911 and I feel threatened, you know, everything was good 10 minutes ago, but now, oh no.
Yeah.
So not to put the fear, you know, not put fear in us or worry or anything like that, but it's certainly something I think we have to consider.
Well, the advantage of being in the office and having somebody nearby. Okay, that's a big advantage.
Yeah, I mean, we keep the door locked, not just with clients, but on that same thing, if just Jan and I are in the office, the doors are locked. Especially if just one of us are in the office. Those two doors are always, I lock them every time it's just us. Just to be on the safe side. You just don't know, and it's better to be safe and have somebody have to knock or call us than.
I thought about that in the past, from years ago, when I used to see Becky counseling, you know, up at Liberty, and I'm meeting with the guy down here, and then I see her leave out of her session, and I'm like, oh, man, I was here. She was in there by herself with that person, you know, and, you know, just.
No, we need, that's something that we need to preserve and work hard to make sure happens. Especially the opposite sex. But again, you can have somebody the same sex. I dealt with someone that was just crazy enough.
Yeah.
You know, you go, woo! We had a gentleman recently that came through that was not a good situation, that needed to have somebody in the building at the same time, that even though he never did anything, he was diagnosed bipolar schizophrenic,
There you go.
passive aggressive. Meow. So, hello.
Who wants to take this one?
Yeah, I did.
It's always better to err on caution.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so that's the other thing about being in the office. If you're assigned to be in the office a certain time, if you're not going to be there, let somebody know. Because then we think that somebody's in the other room to find out they're not too. So I think I need to be more aware of that for myself. Put it on my calendar, Jan out all day, whatever, so you'll know. Instead of assuming, well, Jan will be here all day, I'll be seeing somebody same or different, opposite sex. It doesn't matter. It'd be great if we always had somebody in the next room all the time. And as we grow, that's going to happen, because we'll be in here more, seeing more clients, and that'll happen more and more. Okay.
Well, I think one of the things that I've gotten out of this session is that we will be more intentional about getting some materials together, making you a little booklet and going over all the office procedures and things that Ken wants to put in there, and maybe pulling together some of the discussions we've had today. So if you think of something that you would think would be really important for you to have in that little booklet, let us
Yeah.
know, because it'll be revised and updated as time goes on. But we want to provide for you in your hand something you can refer to that will have numbers and things in it. Even though we may have all this stuff in the filing cabinet in the office, you can have your little booklet with you all the time, and it'll be right there. You don't have to go pull something out. So that's what that we want to do to help.
And take ownership for your own responsibility too. It's like I've got my own resource, and yes, we've handed out in the past. But if I didn't have it, and I need to know who would I contact if somebody did suicide, hello Google, so we can get it, and then I'll let the office know, hey, I made this little resource here. I don't know if the other CPMs want to know it, just to tweak our memory. Because I can go in there now and pull that page out for y'all and have all the numbers and all that on it. But I don't think that I'm reminded to do that maybe until that's tweaked a little bit, So we help each other to know and be responsible in our own self too. So I didn't have the numbers, so it's your fault. Okay.
I've got one more thing to add to that, and I'll let you spell this out. If you have a situation where you feel you need to report, have them report a situation like we've been talking about. As soon as you get through dealing with that thing, preferably before you leave the office and go home, you need to contact Ann, Jan, myself, Brandy, if one of us isn't available, immediately, and bring us up to speed what's going on and the disposition of how it was left.
Can I bring up something about only because it's not my territory, but it's because it wasn't addressed. On the CPM lease agreement, I just might add that when we decide we want to rent that office space for a half a day or a full day, we're going to sign a contract that says we're going to do that for 3 months or 6 months. And whether we have clients or not, we're still supposed to pay that $25 or $40, whichever the case may be, because we've signed a lease to rent that office space for that. So even though we don't have any clients, that doesn't mean it's still our space. We've signed a lease. Like if you move out of a house for a month or your apartment for a month, you still have to pay the lease whether you're there or not. And then we've actually added on the end of that agreement, if you sign it for 3 months or 6 months, at the end of that period, we've added a section at the bottom so that all you have to do is go back and renew it with your date and initials, and you don't have to fill out the whole lease agreement again. Is that okay?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for thinking about that.
And if you don't, you need to turn your key in.
Yeah.
Right,
Which is not,
exactly.
you can't ever use the office space, it's just that, we're trying to keep track of who has keys and who needs a key, and, if you're gonna be here, you have one client that you see every other week, and you're gonna be here, maybe you don't need a key, if it's always gonna be when someone else is here. Trying to limit how many people have keys to this office is kind of a thing we're bumping up against right now, so really, if you're not going to be utilizing the office on off times or different times than everybody else or whatever, but you're not here very often or kind of hit or miss or whatever, maybe you don't need an office key, and that's something you can kind of work out with Ken. Ken's our key guy, but I know that we, trying to figure out, okay, who all has a key, who all really needs a key, that's.
All right. Everybody happy? Everybody good? Did anybody learn anything?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Did anybody waste their time today?
No way.
Okay, good job. Can we close for us, please?
Father, thank you for this time, and Lord, each one that's taken time out of their lives and schedules to invest in themselves and to invest in this ministry with, Lord, further education and knowledge and just seeking wisdom and how to walk out this journey you've called each one to. Thank you for their contributions, Lord, for just everything you've done for us today. Bless the remainder of the day. In Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Can I say one more thing?